niggas better ante up or elevate. I need 6-figure money, won't have the bucks and hella cake. Fuck boy, I been on dumb, should hella outstate. Intimidate, if I him, won't have his mama, make him feel this rap and hella way. Fuck boy, I been on dumb, should hella outstate. Chest watches, they swim away. I don't stop shooting, make him feel this rap, go the hella way. Then I throw away. This a hollow, chest watches, they swim away. I don't stop shooting till you die in your last breath, and then I skid away. This a hollow.
Yo. Man, what's going down, man? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Everything 414 Podcast. You feel me? I am the host, Connor Slaughter, the CEO, the founder. And on this channel, we like to talk, I like to learn, and plus we like to grow here, you feel me? So that's what we're going to do exactly today. You guys know that we've been doing it all day, right? Yeah, I've been at it, gang. Anyway, so we lost another great soul, April 20th, and it's crazy. It's crazy to even be saying this, but rest in peace to David Wilcock. And the reason that's one of those hollering moments, let me give him another one, man. I had to give him two of those because recently he's been on his whistleblowing journey, which has, succeeded. And I'm not gonna lie, he has succeeded in whatever goal or whatever task that he was carrying out, right? I mean, and apparently he committed suicide, apparently, right? And a lot of people for some oddball reason, gang, they feel as if it wasn't suicide. Some of these people feel like, hey, yo, maybe it was these governmental people, these people that's in a higher position than he was, right? Or people that's in a position that do not like what he's doing. So here we're gonna get into a video today, and he proclaimed it to be his last one. You feel me? And he kept mentioning that all the while recording this video. And somebody even called his phone twice trying to get him to either change his narrative about what he was speaking, stop speaking about what he was speaking, or to even just cause a destabilizing distraction for him so he can be thrown off and stop the live or stop whatever message he was trying to get out there. But let's dive into it.
Play solo.
For all of us. Now, that I've always been a big proponent of disclosure, and I've always been a big proponent of planetary freedom, planetary liberation. We are dealing with a rapacious, globalist, elite cult that has been controlling our planet for far too long. They do not have our best interests in mind. And right now, we have our first worldwide, easy to understand, easy to solve mystery. And this has been a very upsetting sequence of events. I did not expect that it was going to take this long. We did get briefings that there were going to be mass arrests happening a lot earlier, and that when those arrests were conducted, that there would be a 3-day shutdown. This is, he's talking about it. Okay, yeah, we've had a lot of stuff about this online. So let's just calm down and relax and understand what's going on here. Apparently, the briefings we've gotten are that those high-level individuals were arrested at that time, temporarily, and that it turns out they had incredible blackmail on the people who had conducted the arrests at that time. And due to a number of incredible problems and reasons why it had to go down that way, they had to release them. What I did not see at the time is how long this situation was going to drag on. I'm a positive person. I wanted to believe that this would all go over pretty fast and we wouldn't be dealing with anything that intense. But instead, it has been months and months and months of masks and long lines at the grocery store. Now we have apocalyptic fires going on all over the West Coast. and millions and millions and millions of people protesting all over the world. That's a whole other show I don't have time to do. But the fact is, we are in a very upsetting situation. Of course, you know that. I know that. And I'm not only a reporter about the Ascension, but I'm also a participant, sort of like the old Hair Club for Men commercial. As a participant in the Ascension, I don't always want to be public. We did first of all, we were already planning to do an online live conference right as this thing was starting. We had it planned for a year. We had already worked out what we were going to talk about, all that stuff. And literally right as this whole shutdown started, that was when we wanted to go live and start our live program. As you will remember,
if I may, and only if I may, right? If I may speak on this, gang, I feel like what he's saying is sort of like the government has been staging and, you know, doing all this shit. You know what I'm saying? That's what it sounds like to me. That's what I'm picking up. I'm picking that up from what he's saying. To me, it sounds like he's basically, you know, trying to tell us, hey, yo, look, the government that has been controlling the world we live in right now today do not have the best interest of no human, nor are they trying to disclose anything that we have been asking for years and years to come, right? Now, don't get this twisted, y'all. This is a 4-hour video. And for us to get through everything that David speaks on or that he talks about, you have to be patient and actually enjoy. So let's go. You know, let's go.
remember, and you can go back to it on this channel, youtube.com/DavidWilcock333. I did a series of long videos. Now, I deliberately made sure not to eat before this show so that 5 hours is not going to happen because I will be starving by then. And I also only have, I have a couple exit points on my slideshow. Could either be 130 slides. If I wanted to do a big show, I could go up to maybe 250. That's still not that long, actually. 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So I'm good. It's not going to be 5 hours. You're not going to have to stay up all night. I respect you if you're on the East Coast. I don't want you to stay up past 10, 10:30, something like that. But this is going to be like an amazing movie. When we start digging into these slides, I fully expect that even if you are one of those less than 1% of our audience that actually doesn't like me, doesn't like this information, and you're just here to try to gain some loosh and suck off of all the people who actually want to be here, you might even be surprised. Because I'm not just going to talk to you about hypotheticals and what ifs. I'm going to get into some very specific details that I think are highly, highly relevant that you need to know. Because the situation that we are having right now, I mean, the particulars are very strange, yes. But the overall idea of economic failure, apparent social collapse, social breakdown.
Now, he really popping it. He popping for real. I ain't gonna lie. He popping it right now. I got a feeling that somebody out there don't want him popping this type of information. When he said that one statement, he said, if you're one of the 1%ers out there who don't like me, who don't like the information I put out there or the things I'm saying, that's, you know, so many words. Somebody that's watching him do not want him talking or running his trap. You feel me? Y'all seen what the caption said at the beginning when I first came on, or when I first opened up the screen and said, time travel secrets revealed, right? We all know the last few scientists, the last few people that's been talking about anti-gravity, time traveling, so on and so forth, has either died, disappeared, and nobody's been found missing and haven't been found yet. You feel me? Over 22 scientists that all work closely to alien discovery, disclosures, UAPs, you know, time travel. So let's keep going.
was something that I was talking about all the way back in 2009.
Wait, before we keep going, gotta let y'all know he gonna get a call twice. They're gonna try to stop his message, right? So pay attention.
And another very pertinent part of this subject is the fact that disclosure is actually happening now, and I'm going to show you some of that the official disclosure has begun. And it's even gotten to the point now where they're not just showing us alleged films, which nobody really disputes the validity thereof, of the 2004 USS Nimitz incident, in which the UFO known as the Tic Tac was seen flying nearby the USS Nimitz, which is the most advanced surveillance-capable craft on Earth, at least out there in the open. They have all the best telemetry, satellite-guided imagery, all kinds of really advanced stuff that's classified. If there's ever anything that's going to be the ultimate surveillance tool, it would be the USS Nimitz. And so in 2004, actually a series of UFOs went by. My phone's ringing. Let me see if this is actually important. Okay, hold on. Yes? I'm live?
Whoa. What's that? I just...
You can't hear me.
Now y'all can clearly see they done called his phone and told this man, look, we can't hear you. We're watching it and we can't hear anything you're saying. And obviously I'm watching the same thing. You and I, we hear everything.
Well, wait a minute. Are you saying that nobody hears me? Do you guys, can you hear me? Is the audience hearing me? Okay, I think they can hear me, so I'm going to hang up now. Yeah, so I'm actually here by myself, so I don't have a crew. And but when I look at the audio, I'm seeing.
And another thing, if you ask me, gang, if y'all listen to in detail to what he's saying as he converse with us back and forth, and he, exercise his point across, listen to how he hint certain words or how he lean or direct us down certain language passages, like saying, yeah, look, I did this with my hands. I had to do that. I had to do it the wide way. Or, saying this is my last video. I hope it's not my last video, and things of that nature. Just listen to all the drop hints within his message.
That it's working, so I'm not gonna dispute that. All right, let's get down to business. And I'm sorry about these delays. When you're in a live environment, anything can happen. It's totally random. Okay, so let's get back on track now. And what was I talking about? I was talking about the USS Nimitz, and I was talking about the fact that there was a New York Times article called "Glowing Auras and Black Money: The Pentagon's Secret Program." So this program has been called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP. And apparently this Pentagon division was made to study the UFO phenomenon with seriousness. Recently, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but they've really, really escalated the rhetoric. They've got a lot more stuff going on, and things are really, really heating up. So we've got some very intense new developments where they have officially announced multiple crash retrieval events have taken place. We have recovered crashed UFOs. See, that's why I had to go wide. You see, I love to do this with my hands. That is so unbelievable that we're finally at that point. We're finally at that point where we got the announcement, the big announcement. And yet, isn't it interesting that nobody really seems to be caring about this? Nobody really seems to be that excited about it. because I think, honestly, we've moved beyond it. Everybody, to one degree or another, is aware that UFOs are real. Okay. Yes?
Your cameras are backward.
My cameras are backward? What does that mean?
They're just switched.
Hold on, wait. So now you calling him, telling him his camera is backwards? Like, what the fuck? Y'all can't tell me they're not trying to stop this man from saying what he's saying. They are not trying to allow this man to speak about no UFOs, UAPs, aliens, time travel, or any of that. They're constantly calling him, saying different things, and we all know, as we sit on the other side of the camera, we can hear him, we can see him, we looking directly at him, watching the goddamn video. It's somebody in the government that do not want him speaking, and I believe this led up to him killing himself on April 20th. You feel me? 2026. He allegedly shot himself in the head, and they said the sheriffs was there. They tried to talk him to put the gun down. He was depressed. He had financial problems. They even gave a caption, a text caption, reading what was said, at the time of the call and this, that, and other. Like, dude, it's
Camera that you think that you're looking at is a different one. But everything's great. It's great.
So whatever camera has the red on it is actually not the one that's lit, it's the other one? That's insane.
Well,
Okay, well, so I'll just go with that. All right, bye. Okay, everybody, thank you for the... I saw somebody saying something about me looking in cameras, and I'm like, what are they talking about? It doesn't even make sense. But yeah, so something went wrong here with the setup, but that is very, very normal. Problems happen all the time. So now this should be right. Okay, so going to the wide shot. Sorry about that. And when you got more than one camera angle, and this is crazy. I'm doing this by myself. I don't have any crew. Even figuring out how to do it, conceptualizing the model of how I would work was difficult, but we've got it. So anyway, here we are talking about the USS Nimitz incident in 2004 and how this all is unfolding as disclosure is now becoming something that is out there in the public eye. So we've got sound. I'm looking in the right camera now. I'm not like some fool looking off to the side. Sorry about that. You really do not know what's going to happen until you actually go live. And there's always some kind of problem. Something always goes wrong. Something catastrophic, usually. But this isn't that bad. Anyway.
That he ain't lying about, gang. I swear, it's like every time I go live on StreamYard, my nigga, the fucking live fuck up. I got to restart the channel. It's always some bullshit.
There's so many slides and there's so much to talk about. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time riffing before I get into the real meat and potatoes of this talk. I wish that I was happier about the world during disclosure. I wish that there was more to be positive about right now, but it has been very difficult. Blood red skies over Portland. No visibility of the sun over Los Angeles. Wildfires that are raging out of control. And if you have studied the magic letter, and we'll just leave it at that, I would highly recommend continuing to read that. It appears that the most functional site for it right now would be magic letter ANON.pub. And magic letter, you just put the letter in that I'm speaking of. Magic letter ANON.pub. The other one, magic letter MAP.pub, I believe it is not functioning at this time, or it's always going. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on. All of a sudden, the media is way out of control. Just the inundation of these articles about this, painting it in a very, very bad way. And yet, it doesn't really seem to be working. A certain number of people are falling for that. And yes, I will also acknowledge that there are people who have read these things and have studied these things who have done unpleasant, unfortunate, and very nasty stuff. So it's not clean. This is not a clean situation. This whole process of our planetary awakening is extremely messy. And let me also point out that where I'm at right now is a very, very vulnerable position. Why do I say that? I say that because I find myself in today is a position in which, with no forewarning and no opportunity for appeals or any of that kind of stuff, my channel could just disappear. And I'm actually treading very close to the line, even by what I've already said. Another David, who's probably the only one out there to me, and a David whose last name starts with I, he got completely deplatformed, you guys. I mean, he lost everything, and they do it all at once, just like what they did with Alex. It all happens at once. Do I agree with Alex? No. Did he say a lot of crazy stuff? Yes. Okay. Has he attacked me? Yes. But I'm not going to say bad things about him. All I am going to say is that this is crazy what's going on. And so there has never been a greater risk. You see, I have 423,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's pretty unusual. That's pretty rare. If I say anything that could create the grounds for this to just be instantly taken away, there's not going to be an opportunity for me to ever use this particular platform that I'm using right now again. And there's really nothing else like it without spending a lot more money. And then you don't get the exposure, and it's a lot more difficult. So this is a war, and it's a very serious war. And only the information that is authorized is being permitted to be aired. Now, this is all being discussed under the guise of protecting you. I think you're cool enough to be able to handle the truth. I think you're cool enough to be able to decide for yourself what you want to think. Anyway, let me get off of that soapbox.
I totally agree with him. I couldn't agree more. I totally feel that way about everything as far as like the UFOs, the aliens, disclosures of aliens, disclosures of the UAPs and UFOs, the AI control, you know, and if you look at it, the government is doing that same shit with the AI owners, the people who created the AIs. You feel me? They are telling them, yo, we are allowed to control your AI, your creativity, your production, or whatever it is that you make. And if you don't give us the authority to control it, then will we put you under a chain of what it was, a supply chain of command breach or failure, some shit like that, right? So basically meaning they're gonna take down the whole company. They're gonna take down the company and own everything, basically sign it over from you to them. You feel me? And there's nothing you can do about it because the AI is globally working on the governmental network service. You feel me? So that's the scary part of this shit. So when he say it's a war, I definitely understand what he's saying. Let's go.
Because probably I've already said too much. I've had to basically tactically look at the idea that any broadcast that I do could be the very last one. So for that reason, I've been holding my cards and waiting until it was the right time, while also going through enormous psychological and spiritual healing. This is something that we all should be doing. I believe the main appropriate response for the time in history that we're in right now is prayer and meditation, humility, service to others, because we have a culture that has become infected with trolling. And it's being modeled for us by the press on the national, international level, but especially here in the US. I've never seen anything like this. It's highly, highly bizarre. I do believe that all the things that we've heard are true, that there's going to be a disputed election, that the dispute will last for months, And the magic letter has said that there are 80 million, they did this the other day, 80 million of these pieces of paper that could be put in the mail that aren't real. 80 million. Apparently they have that intel. Do I believe that it's just going to end on the election day? Absolutely not. I think it would be a miracle, a literally divine intervention if it ends that soon. The other problem that we have is that there are very consistent briefings saying that as we head towards this point and afterwards, that all of these negative violent events are going to drastically increase. I do not support violence. I never have and I never will. I don't want you to get involved in any violence at all. That is not what we do. That is not what we think. That is not our platform here. And I hope that anyone who is doing these things would really get down on your knees and get real about what is really going on here, because you might be doing this stuff thinking that you're doing something good, and there is nothing that can be gained from this.
Sound too low? Here's how to fix it. Open
Almost all of you know that. I mean, it seems that the people who are doing this are a very select, targeted group that has financial backing. And again, I'm like, what can I talk about? What can I talk about where I'm even going to have a channel left after the show is over? I don't know. So I probably, again, said a hell of a lot more than I should have right there. But we all need to be prepared that this is going to take a while, and that we're going to get some indictments before Election Day, but then afterwards is when it's going to happen on a much larger level. Now, the whole idea, there's obviously two perspectives here of what's really going on. And the perspective that is now being shoved on you by the press is new. This is a new argument. They never really paid attention to this before. It's been going on since October 2017, but now all of a sudden you're seeing dozens and dozens of articles per day that are saying the most outlandish stuff, and some people are believing it. So in my view, I think the biggest test that we're all facing, it's a global mystery, it's easy to understand, but it's very, very upsetting to understand. You don't want to understand it because it's really, really painful and it's really, really terrible. So it's an easy mystery, but the real problem is that you're going to have to throw up in order to feel better, right? That's what I've always said. This is very, very difficult. It's very difficult to understand, to even try to wrap your head around the idea that there could be any truth to the idea that you are being lied to on a massive, 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 unprecedented scale, Watergate times 5,000. If you've seen the shows I was doing with Danny and Brinkley, then you'll know, the Lee Atwater paradigm. It's like if there's a U.S. election going on, everything else is related to that, period. Anything you're seeing, anything that's going on, it's all related. And again, when it was safe in April, I said a lot of other things in previous videos, and you can go back and watch those. And yeah, you might need to sit through 5 hours, but they are very, very information-packed and very, very relevant to what's going on now. So without getting myself in any more trouble, I'll just tell you that I believe this is going to work out. And my record speaks for itself. I've been out here doing this for 25 years. 25 years that I've been online doing research. 24 years since I began actively participating. And I guess 21 years since I had my own private website. My latest book, if you go to Amazon, you look at the numbers, it's got a 4.8 out of 5-star rating. And the last I checked, it was 496 reviews. That's almost unheard of in any type of book to have that many. So the new book is called 'Awakening in the Dream. And it was my hope that you guys would be able to read that and it would kind of tide you over while I was going through some very necessary personal healing that I've had to do. But I think I've made enormous progress. I think there's a lot of stuff that I've really been able to clear. And that's one of the most important parts about where we are right now. Don't get stuck on the external. Don't get stuck on what's all out there to attract you and confuse you. Let's focus on what's going on internally. Because right now we're in a culture of distraction. We're in a culture in which...
Hey, that right there, he ain't lying about, man. I got to give him a round of applause, right? The most biggest, hugest time of distraction of all time. 2026, we had so many distractions. It's crazy, right? Left and right. From Epstein files to the UFO disclosures to aliens landing at the mall to all types of things, right? But everybody pay attention to the internal. That's what he said. Pay attention to the internal, and the internal is how you feel about things. You know, don't try to look and decide what's real and what's fake, because they created AI to confuse you anyway, to give your ass a distraction. So you already gonna be lost. Right? Let's keep listening though.
The axiom of if it bleeds, it leads is really out there, and there are some kind of people, we don't know exactly who they are yet, but they're participating in these things. There's rioting going on. There's some really bad stuff that's going on. Cities burning. It's very, very sad. And I do not support any of this. If I was gonna recommend any type of protesting, it would only be under the Gandhi principle. And I would ask you to remember that Gandhi single-handedly got rid of the British who were owning and controlling India, okay? They owned it. It was a British state, basically. And Gandhi was able to get Britain to leave through nothing but peaceful protests. Did certain people get hurt in the middle of those protests? Yes. Does India think it was worth it in terms of what the final result was that they got out of it? Yes, those people were brave, and they did the equivalent of being soldiers on front lines to address that problem. So you don't solve anything by causing a systematic breakdown and chaos in society. You're not gaining anything. And I think people are really seeing that there's some things that are very disturbing and very wrong. And then I guess I'll say, because what the heck, I mean, this is the last video, so I might as well get it out. Hopefully it's not the last video, but this is the most outrageous.
Okay, great. Wait, were you even listening? You haven't taken a single note this entire meeting?
I'm actually listening better than I ever have. Let me share my screen. Do you see this? Everything we're saying is being transcribed in real time. Look, word for word. That's
candidate, the candidate who's running, and I'm not talking about the incumbent, I'm talking about the one that would replace. I have never seen, I don't think there's any historical precedent for something like this, where you have a person who is showing such obvious signs of a complete cognitive breakdown. I used to work in mental health. I've been around people with Alzheimer's disease. They called it old-timers disease sometimes. And, you know, we had certain people where we had to barricade their door because they would just escape, and then they didn't know where they were, and they couldn't find their way back to the room. So they have this little like kiddie door so they couldn't get out. And yeah, these symptoms are very obvious and very consistent. And how does anybody think that this is a good idea to have this guy run the country? Obviously, it's going to be not really him, and then whoever is behind him. And then you have to ask the question, well, who is that? And what is that going to look like? Do I think that the VP would ever become president? Absolutely not. They're going to bring out Joe Biden. They're going to bring out clones. They're going to bring out whatever the heck they need to do to keep the illusion.
Wait, did he say Joe Biden? Is that what he said again? I do know he said something about a clone. God damn it. When he mentioned that clone, that struck a nerve right there for me, because I'm like, wait a minute. Do he know something that nobody else knows? Right? Shows you how many secrets or how much of secrets they are holding. You understand what I'm saying? But let me rewind what he said.
And that's one of the most important parts about where we are right now. Don't get stuck on the external. Don't get stuck on what's all out there to attract you and confuse you. Let's focus on what's going on internally. Because right now we're in a culture of distraction. We're in a culture in which the axiom of if it leads, it leads is really out there. And there are some kind of people, we don't know exactly who they are yet, but they're participating in these things. There's rioting going on. There's some really bad stuff that's going on. Cities burning. It's very, very sad. And I do not support any of this. If I was gonna recommend any type of protesting, it would only be under the Gandhi principle. And I would ask you to remember that Gandhi single-handedly got rid of the British who were owning and controlling India, okay? They owned it. It was a British state, basically. And Gandhi was able to get Britain to leave through nothing but peaceful protests. Did certain people get hurt in the middle of those protests? Yes. Does India think it was worth it in terms of what the final result was that they got out of it? Yes, those people were brave, and they did the equivalent of being soldiers on front lines to address that problem. So you don't solve anything by causing a systematic breakdown and chaos in society. You're not gaining anything. And I think people are really seeing that there's some things that are very disturbing and very wrong. And then I guess I'll say, yeah, because what the heck, I mean, this is the last video, so I might as well get it out. Hopefully it's not the last video, but this is the most outrageous candidate, the candidate who's running, and I'm not talking about the incumbent, I'm talking about the one that would replace. I have never seen, I don't think there's any historical precedent for something like this, where you have a person who is showing such obvious signs of a complete cognitive breakdown. I used to work in mental health.
Now, I'm wondering, is he talking about Trump or is he talking about Vance? You feel me? Like,
been around people with Alzheimer's disease. They called it old-timers disease sometimes. And, we had certain people where we had to barricade their door because they would just escape and then they didn't know where they were and they couldn't find their way back to the room. So they have this little like kiddie door so they couldn't get out. And yeah, these symptoms are very obvious and very consistent.
But that's crazy though, to even have a kiddie door so you can't get out. So you mean to tell me these symptoms get that goddamn bad, or the people who's watching over these people with them symptoms be that much in fear that they got them caged and locked in a room that they don't want to let them out? Oh, wait, let's put the kiddie door right here. Maybe they'll crawl out if they want to. You understand?
And how does anybody think that this is a good idea to have this guy run the country? Obviously, it's going to be not really him, and then whoever is behind him. And then you have to ask the question, well, who is that? And what is that going to look like? Do I think that the VP would ever become president? Absolutely not. They're going to bring out Joe Biden. They're going to bring out clones. They're going to bring out whatever the heck they need to do to keep the illusion that this is still going. Do I?
Yep. He said Joe Biden, gang. That's exactly what he said. That's what he said, man. So therefore, the theory that Joe Biden was a robot or a clone, he's actually promoting that. He said it out his own mouth, Joe Biden. He said they were going to bring out a clone or whatever it is to keep the illusion going. You understand what I'm saying? Listen, y'all. Listen in detail to what this man's saying. It's information packed. Trust me.
I think that if this happened, that if this man became president, that we would ever get out of lockdown? No. You're going to stay home forever. And the reason why I say that is that I was briefed by one of my insiders many years ago on this plan that they had called deindustrialization. And I didn't really know how it was going to happen. I had heard about the idea that there might be a carbon tax that was placed on every country and that they would have a cap and that they would be forced to deindustrialize, to shut down their factories and to stop people from driving if their greenhouse gas emissions exceeded their cap. And then the idea would be that the cap would be so low that nobody would be able to keep up with it. Every country would have to deindustrialize. And I saw them try to do that, but it didn't really work. But now, however the heck we got here, we're in a situation in which still we have this, everybody's got to stay home. Businesses are very, very anemic. The economy is incredibly anemic. And for some people, this is coming as a big surprise. It does not come as a big surprise for me. And if you've been following my work for any length of time, it shouldn't be a big surprise for you either. Why? Because I've been out there blowing the trumpet about this stuff for 11 years at least. And I'm going to show you that today. Now, the subject is time travel. And
oh, Lord, he's finna touch up on a real touchy subject. Y'all know this. Don't get it twisted. The last person that spoke about time travel, you feel me? They had an issue. They had a serious issue. You know, I'm not going to even lie to you. The last few people, the last scientists, the last few physicians who studied and, you know, wanted to speak out about the things they learned about time travel was murdered. They was, you know, reported missing or found or not found, to be exact, which is the scary part. So I don't know, but we're going to dive into it. We'll let him dive into it, actually, and we're going to understand where he's coming from, because like I said, his death is a mystery. His suicide is a mystery, gang. I don't believe all these people just died for nothing. You feel me? All these people who's missing, who's disappeared without a trace, or who's suicidal or killing themselves or being murdered are all connected to aerospace, connected to time travel, connected to anti-gravity. You understand what I'm saying?
And I'm going to get into why that is relevant. And it's all interrelated with these current events. So what we're going to unfold throughout the course of this next couple hours, hopefully it won't take longer than that, as long as I get to the slides, is a very fascinating narrative where all these threads are going to link together. So we're going to walk away from the things that could get my channel taken away from me, and let's do a couple slides here. Hopefully that works. It should, because it's not a camera that I have to look at. Okay.
Whoa, y'all see how he cracked that joke about the camera that he had to look at? Because remember they called. Remember they told him. They said, hey, yo, your camera not working. You feel me? First it was nobody hear you. Then it was your camera not working. That's why he cracked that joke again. Like, wait, hopefully it's not a camera that I got to look at. It should, you know. You're like, come on, man. These people crazy, man. And then he was dropping little hint bombs. You feel me? He was trying to drop little bombs for us to pick up on, little narratives, you know what I'm saying, leading us down the road to believe or to recognize or notice that these guys are driving him to lose his channel, driving him to make this his last video. You feel me? They probably even threatening him like they did every other scientist, like they did Amy Eskridge. You understand what I'm saying?
So, time travel secrets revealed and why it matters today. As I was just saying, 2020, this year, has been the biggest mass consciousness event of all time. And what do I mean by that? I mean that we are all participating in this together. And when you look at the physics that I've written about in my 4 different books, it's a consciousness science. There is an innate understanding that mind is the builder of the universe, that everything that we are and everything that is out there is the stuff of consciousness. There is no dead anything. The universe is alive and biological. And I have an incredible wealth of scientific evidence for that. But again, many people have been saying, please, David, don't repeat anything. I want all new information, all new information. Okay, that's fine. We can do that. It's not a big deal. So we got new information for you. And when we have enough people going through the same experience at the same time, the scientific research that's all over the world, some of it's coming out of Russia, says that we get these mass consciousness effects. Now, what do I mean by that? David, what is a mass consciousness effect? Well, interestingly enough, if you look at like the work of Dr. Dean Radin, he had a particular, there's a lot of things that he's done that are amazing. And one of them is that he had a study where they had random number generators. And this is a computer chip that is generating seemingly random numbers. But the randomness of the numbers that are generated, this is very important, okay? The randomness of the numbers that are generated depends upon the flow of electrons in the chip being consistent. There's no hiccups or fluctuations in the electron flow. So you have to have a smooth electron flow, and then you get truly random numbers. However, when there is a mass consciousness event, for some seemingly inexplicable reason, the numbers are no longer random, and they can measure how non-random they are on a scale. They graph it. And guess what? 9/11, maybe I shouldn't even said that. I don't know. There goes the channel again. That's number 17. Oh, did I say that? That's another thing I probably shouldn't have said. Wrong number. Let's number 16. Yeah, we got to think about all this, right? 9/11, as it was leaked.
If you ask me, it almost looked like he want to cry behind the things he's revealing and saying. You know, it's sort of bothering me how, you know, they threaten and scare these people, you feel me, to keep their mouth shut about the things they say and the secrets that they reveal. You feel me? That's the crazy part about this. To even watch a video like this and to understand how deep they are willing to go. And you can see it in the way he's acting and behaving. You know, you can see it. He's sort of like, it's something bothering him. It's something really going on deeper. You feel me, that we can't really tell or that we can't really connect with. It's almost like he's trying to hide it, but yet it's almost like he's trying to reveal it and ask for help. Like, hey, yo, somebody help me. They threatening me. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to run. I don't know who to call. You understand what I'm saying?
Leading up to the event, the novelty of the graph, the non-randomness of these computers that were all over the world started to skyrocket. And as the planes hit the towers, it kept going higher and higher, and you can see that on the graph. Now, I didn't have slides for this because, again, sometimes I think of things to say live, and I hadn't planned for it. But you can go back and look up that research, and it's in my books. What I found interesting was that the shock effect started before the actual events took place. The acceleration of the non-randomness of these computer chips began before anything actually happened. And as the different events took place, the actual catastrophic events that day, it skyrocketed. And most interestingly of all, the closer the random number generating computers were to the center of the problem in New York, the more exaggerated the graphs were. And this is indisputable. So we have a mass consciousness effect where everybody's
Now that's strange, gang. That is strange as a motherfucker. The way he just broke that down, that's weird. Why would that have happened like that? We finna find out. I can tell you that much. We
experiencing the same thing, right? And then we have these computer chips behaving in very strange ways where they're not giving us random numbers anymore. They start doing patterns. They start chunking out the same numbers. Now, what did I say before about how that could work? I said that the randomness is a function of the continuous natural flow of electricity not being interrupted, but just staying consistent. So the only way that you could get non-randomness from a physics perspective is for there to be perturbations or fluctuations in the flow of electrons through the chip. Now, these are micro perturbations. It's not enough to collapse the computer most of the time. Sometimes it does. Certain individuals will have events where they get a very emotional reaction and then their computer shuts down on them. And that is one of these kinds of things. We have a lot more power in our minds than we realize. This consciousness science is incredibly vast. And there's so many different examples of it that I'm just focusing on one and drilling in on it to give you an example.
That's deep. What he just said is real deep, gang. And I can piggyback on that, right? I heard of this before. Someone told me that your computer tend to act funny. If you're around your computer and it's glitching or you get the acting wild and crazy, it's because usually your mindset. It's because of usually what you're consciously thinking of, which creates a feeling in a mood, which sends out electricity. You feel me? A frequency of electricity, whether it go up, down, left, right, diagonal. I don't know which way it go, but I have heard of this before. I never knew, and I always wanted to find out and understand how powerful the mind truly is. Right? So let's dive. Let's find.
What I believe is going on is that when a lot of people are upset about something or experiencing something the same way, the actual energy around us, the actual electromagnetic flow around us starts to stick to those thoughts. It starts to fluctuate and no longer be straightforward. And this actually makes sense because it's really the only logical explanation for how these computer chips could end up doing this. That we, as a human civilization, have some degree of control over the actual flow of electromagnetic energy. Well, if I said before that the universe is alive and that we're all living in a conscious universe, right? Then what does that mean? That means that our electromagnetic energy is alive. And our electromagnetic energy is a function of consciousness, okay? So when our consciousness all focuses on one thing, you get these mass effects. Now, the most exciting example of this, of course, is the so-called meditation effect. And it's to me the most fascinating thing ever. 7,000 people working together. These were transcendental meditation gatherings with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi running it, who was made famous by the Beatles. They went out to hang out with him, and then they wrote songs out there, and that's what became the White Album, which was their top-selling album. While they were in India, they wrote most of those songs. The infamous Paul McCartney song, "Why Don't We Do It in the Road?" If you read his biography many years from now, he says that was when he saw two monkeys in the road, and I'll leave the rest up to you. That was while he was in India. So there was a lot of interesting stuff that happened where they got 7,000 people together meditating on what they call pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is a science that they were teaching, which is how to get to this state of mind where you feel ecstatic unity with the creation. You feel bliss, you feel peace, and it's wonderful. Now, if you get into this uplifting consciousness, which we're going to do, we're going to end this today with a meditation. So we're going to practice this just like we did before. When you do this, what they found is that 7,000 people meditating together under one roof altered the free will behavior of people all over the planet.
What? Wait. Did he just say what the hell I think he said again? Let me let him continue real quick.
Now, how did they alter the free will? It altered in a very specific way. There was 72% fewer acts of crime, acts of violence, acts of war, acts of terrorism. There was a corresponding improvement in economic prosperity. The economy goes up, the violence goes down. And what does that show us? That shows us that we again have an effect on our environment. There are these mass consciousness effects, just like we saw with the random number generators and the event that took place in New York.
I'm completely shocked after watching this interview.
Somehow, when 7,000 people under one roof, it doesn't have to be, but just 7,000 people getting together and meditating on pure consciousness and peace and embodying that, right? By the way, not everybody was good at it. A lot of people were sitting there. I've spoken to some people who were in some of these, and they, you might scratch your butt, you get a little itchy, you don't really know what's going on. You're not sure if it's working, you're bored, you're not really meditating.
Hey, he funny as hell. I ain't gonna lie, it's hard as hell just to sit and meditate, gang. That's one of the hardest things to do. You understand me? Because your mind is overfilled, like overly filled with thoughts. All sorts of thoughts. They're coming from each and every which way. You understand what I'm saying? So it get hard to focus on, like he said, pure consciousness and peace. You'll be finding yourself sitting there trying to focus on peace, gang, and all of a sudden, you feel me? Next thing you know, you thinking about some bullshit that took place at work. You feel me? With a motherfucker who you got a problem with. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, dude, it get hard, yeah, but I want to finish what he's saying because he sound like he owns something. He really is, you feel me? And I love what he's saying, you feel me? I hate that they forced this man to have to kill himself, quote unquote, because at the end of the day, you feel me? I think he have a lot of knowledge and intelligence that the world needs to have.
Very well, but if enough people try, there's this huge improvement on planet Earth. And I have always said that this is the most important thing we need to know. So because I am very concerned about the community standards here on this platform, I recommend that we're doing this all the time. This is the big thing, folks. This is what it's all about. We have a tool in which we can reduce all of these horrible things and alter the free will behavior of human beings for the positive. In other words, 72% is roughly 75, which is 3/4 of the whole, right? So 3 out of 4 people in the world who would have committed an act of violence, committed an act of aggression, and this includes domestic violence. What's going on behind the doors of your house? What's going on out in the streets? Acts of war, acts of crime, burglaries, robberies, shootings, stabbings, other types of murders. All of it. 3 out of 4 people that would have done something to hurt other people decided to stay home that day or whatever. Maybe they were out, but they just didn't do anything wrong. They didn't hurt anyone. It's almost unbelievable to conceptualize how that could even be possible. And yet, the science behind this is absolutely irrefutable. Multiple studies, 39 different studies that I'm aware of, were published mostly in the Journal of Offender Rehabilitation, and they definitively proved.
You know what's crazy, gang? The craziest thing to me ever is that this man is totally right. He know what he's saying. And you know what's even worse is now it make a lot of sense. It totally makes so much sense on why they continuously have us watching wars, drama, why Facebook is full of black people killing each other, people jumping on each other, people beating each other, people hurting each other. Pay attention. If everybody only focused on all that negative excitement, that negative entertainment, gang, you know what that's going to only do? That's going to only tweak your frequency towards the negative side. That's going to only tweak your frequency towards the negative side. And that's going to create a negative impact. Understand what he's saying? Since our consciousness has the ability to control the environment and things around us, you feel me, through the electromagnetic field, then meditation would be key. Then focusing on productivity and positivity and progression would be key. That's why they rarely show you somebody succeeding on TV outside of themselves, outside of somebody who we are trained to look at as our superiors, or who we are trained to look at as somebody who stand above us and someone we stand under, which is
after multiple times of doing this, because they repeated it multiple times, that they could rule out weekends. It had nothing to do with whether it's during the week or the weekend. Oh, some people are going to say, yeah, it's the weekend. They ruled out weather. It has nothing to do with bad weather making people stay home or good weather making people feel happy.
You don't know what an AI work management platform is? Okay, let me tell you. Here's 3 new AI powered.
Had nothing to do with holidays. It worked just as well when there was no holiday as if there was. Every single other factor that could account for this amazing global effect was eliminated. Every single one. So then that gets to the point of, okay, wow, what do we do with that? Where do we take this information next? And what does it mean for us? Well, obviously, we're not going to always be doing global meditations. And this is where we have to really get clever about how we look at this. Global meditations become a target. If you announce one, then certain negative forces will actually try to create events that target that same day to try to offset the effect. This is why I don't do more of these. This is why I don't telegraph it very much if I'm going to do one of these. Because if you make a big stink about it, and if you get everybody excited, I've seen this a few different times, crazy stuff seems to happen. And it's offset by the meditation, but it's still, there's this struggle, there's this war that starts to happen. And you might think I'm crazy, but again, if you're familiar with my work, this is going to be very comfortable and you're going to understand what I'm talking about. So
now don't get it twisted. I'm not too familiar with his work, but I definitely can attest to what he's talking about. I definitely can witness to the stuff he's saying. You feel me? Because it'd be like that, like when you mention certain things out loud, when you got certain ideas, you feel me, and you mention them out loud. I don't know how, but it always seemed like the forces, those invisible negative forces of whichever nature, they always seems to rain on your parade. They always seem to come and trump the party. You understand this? Something always take place to where whatever you was just discussing or planning to do or trying to get done, or you feel me, thought about getting done, and you slipped up and said it out loud, it get crushed, it gets stopped. Something negative take place. You and somebody get into it. You feel me? It never fails, gang. Like, y'all make sure y'all paying attention, listen to what he's saying. But due to the fact he says something else about, he mentioned things like this, I'm gonna have to go do my research on it.
We have this tool, but again, it does not require somebody like me or any of a number of others to be able to go out there and do it. By the way, it also has been done by Lynn McTaggart, who wrote the book, The Field. It's also been done by Greg Braden. Art Bell was doing these, which he called The Great Experiment. And he got freaked out about how powerful it was. So it really does appear to be a legitimate thing that has been multiply studied and replicated. But yet we have no tools in our mainstream paradigms to explain how this could be possible. What I really want to emphasize more than anything is that you don't need to be in the middle of an orchestrated mass meditation to get this thing to work. I don't want you to be stuck into a religious paradigm where you would, quote unquote, go to church on Sunday or mass meditation, and then you just go back to doing your life the way you normally would. There's never been a more difficult time in Earth's history to have a positive attitude, right? It's never been more difficult to think positively, to be happy, to be optimistic about the future, to feel safe in your home. Elizabeth and I, a month and a half ago, were sitting watching television, and we heard gunshots right outside the house. They were about 20 feet away because I saw the muzzle flashes. I saw flashes of light, bright white light, correlated with the sound, okay, on my curtains. And we're just sitting there going, whoa, okay, I don't know what to do here, but I think we should just sit still and just stay very calm and peaceful. And we heard additional gunshots, and it was like the person was driving off. Nobody called the police. We never heard sirens. We never saw flashing red and blue lights. Nothing happened. And whoever it was probably just...
Hey, that make me wonder where the fuck he live at. Like, what really he live? Like, Come on, gang, make that make sense. What hood that man in, man? He said, man, me and my wife heard gunshots and we just sat there, shit. We
drunk and shooting up into the sky. But that's very unsettling to have that happen around your own house where you actually see the muzzle flashes on the curtain. Now, I've told this story before, but this is incredibly significant. One of these mass meditation groups took place in Lebanon. And Lebanon was in the middle of a very, very violent and destructive war as the gathering was taking place. So, while these people are there meditating together, knowing the history, knowing that a group of people will reduce crime, fatalities, terrorism by up to 72%, they heard something like what was happening to me, but much, much, much worse. Machine guns, bombs going off, literally right outside the building that they were all meditating in. And they all had to make a decision at that point. Do we stay here and do we practice what we preach? Do we apply the science that we believe is true, that we've proven is true? Or do we run like hell and panic and run out the door and hope that we don't get shot on the way out? They decided to stay in place, to keep meditating, to stay calm. And so everybody, even as the sounds are going on outside and everything like that is happening, they actually just meditated. Within 20 minutes, all of the noise stopped, all of the violence went away, and it became completely quiet in the building and outside. And people.
Yo, I can't lie about this one, man. This is a different testimony right here, right? This is a real different testimony, right? Because the mind is a powerful thing to waste, right? They tell you that all the time, and you technically can't waste your mind. You technically can't. You understand what I'm saying? You can only train your mind to get much stronger, much smarter. You feel me? More brilliant, more intelligent, more geniusness. And you can't even train it, basically. You can feel it. And to feel it is to tell yourself that, but not doubt what you're telling yourself, not doubt what you embedding or embodying within one's heart. You understand what the mind can do and how powerful it is. I think that's a message for our Black people. I think we need to know that message, gang. We need to know that message, learn that message, embody that message, and consider for ourselves.
People had tears streaming down their faces. People were hugging each other when it was over. It was unbelievable, because if there's ever a way to find out whether this really works, it's in that kind of a situation. So when I heard the gunshots outside my house, it's like, okay, I'm going to stay calm. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to act crazy, because I might have an effect on this person. Some of the other things that we could talk about include studies from the Institute of Heart Math, in which they actually studied the brainwave activity, the heart rate, the respiratory rate, and galvanic skin response, which is the electrical activity on the surface of your skin, in people who lived next door to each other but had never even met. So they wire them up to these machines, and they study their breathing, their heart rate, their brain.
Hey, y'all know what's funny? I talked about this before. I said, you know, like us, like in my hood in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, half of, you know, me and I'm sure other neighbors on this block never even really introduced ourselves to one another, right? If you ask me, I think it's a Black thing, because a lot of times Black people always got this stereotype, even about each other. You feel me? That, you know, one of them might got an attitude, or they look like they own something. They look like not to be trusted. You feel me? We just always walk around with these stereotypes. And I think they was placed by people, by situations, environments, by cultures, you feel me, by narratives and things of that nature. But I want to know what was the outcome of the results from this test, this study that they did with these two neighbors who did not know each other. Let's dive in it, because I want to know and understand if it's anything near what I was thinking. And after you explain it, I'll tell y'all what I was thinking.
Wave activity and their electrical skin activity. What did they find? It's very, very fascinating. They found that we all synchronize with each other And again, this is happening all the time. That's what the science reveals. Your heart rate is synchronizing with others. Your breathing rate is synchronizing with others. Your brainwave, the overall brainwave activity and the type of brainwave activity, obviously not specific details, but the overall character and quality of the brainwave activity was the same. And then the most interesting thing to me is that they found out very consistently that there's a big difference between someone who is in a state of stress and someone who is in a state of peace, happiness, love, and meditation. When you're in a state of peace, happiness, love, and meditation, you get very smooth brain waves, okay? They're very smooth, and they don't have a lot of jaggedy pieces to them. And that indicates that your mind is quiet. You don't have a whole lot of thoughts going on. Whereas if you're in an agitated state, if you're nervous, if you're upset, if you're stressed out, you might have a lot of really choppy activity in your brain waves, and it just does all this stuff. Over and over and over and over, these Institute of Heart Math studies showed that whoever has the greatest coherence wins. In other words, if you start meditating, the person next door to you actually calms down. They synchronize with you. You become the winning card. I'm not going to say.
So to me, it seems like he also stating we can control each other. Another human can control the actions and the behavior of another human. Definitely if we can synchronize with each other through frequencies. You understand what I'm saying? That goes back to quantum entanglement. That goes back to being able to be at one place at the same time while you are in another place. Or even being able to feel what your friend doing, your best friend, your mom, your dad, while they are on the other side of the world. You feel me? And you are on the other side. You can still feel, you can taste or touch or understand what they're doing or experience what they're doing through a whole nother sense of senses, and that's your internal senses. I get it.
The name of the card, because then that could get my channel taken down too. Special cards have special names. This is so ridiculous. This is so ridiculous, the whole thing. But anyway, that's another. We'll hang out later. I'll tell you more about it privately, but not here. Okay? We're friends. We can talk. You know what I'm saying. If you followed my work for any length of time, you know exactly what's going on. I don't need to tell you. There's lots and lots and lots of ways to find it because it's a really easy to solve mystery, okay? And the ship is leaking and it's sinking fast and there's nothing they can do about it. And it's wonderful. Ultimately, if this all works out the way I think it will, it is incredibly wonderful. But let's get back to coherence. The person with the greatest coherence wins. And so this shows that even on an individual level of one person, that if you actually start meditating, if you actually pray, if you actually have a sense of peace and tranquility in your heart, scientifically speaking, you alter the free will of others right next door. Remember?
Hey, yo, was I right? Was I right, gang? I'm a fucking genius at this shit, man. At the end of the day, man, I did my research. I've been doing my studies and I've been doing them correct, man. If you like what you heard and you want to see some more of this video, gang, you gotta come back to my channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. You feel me? Man, I love everybody out there. And remember everything he said, man. He just passed away on April 20th, 2026, gang. He killed himself. You understand what I'm saying? And I think he was forced to. And I think he was forced to by the people who was trying to silence him, who was trying to tell him not to speak this information, the same information he's giving us right now in this video. Why would y'all try to silence that, gang? The world need to know that. Anyway, I love y'all, man. Y'all make sure y'all take care. Stay safe.
The gang, them grew up in pining. Couple of groupies to fit with. High, no turbulence, vibing. Higher than you niggas getting. Flying while you niggas flyless. Your kind is scooter dependent. I come something new when I'm driving. Driving off the roof, no ceilings. Got a skyline view when I'm riding.